Assalamu alaikum and good morning, and welcome you all guys in the lecture of the series of the epidemiology subject. In the today lecture of the epidemiology, we will learn how to calculate the sample size for the case control study design. Let's to go through from the scenario which is written over here. A researcher wants to conduct a case control study design on the oral contraceptive use and he see the risk of the thromboembolism in the women of the reproductive age. In the previous studies states that the 10% of the women use the contraceptive and around 18% of the women who use the contraceptive but they develop the thromboembolism. So the alpha, which is the alpha which is it has been taken by the researcher is 0.05 at the 5%, and the beta for this test is taken 0.2. 0.2 means 20%, and definitely if it is the beta is 0.2 is a 20%, then definitely the power of the test is 80%. Assume, he says, assume the size of the cases and the control is to 1-to-1 ratio. Means he take the one case and the ratio for the one case it took the control is the 1. So is a 1-to-1 ratio between the cases and the control. Let's go through before to put the formula. What is the formula for this to calculate the case control study design? N is equal to Z alpha by 2 plus Z beta. The beta is the 0.20 is means 80%. The Z beta means power of the test. Okay, and then we will do the whole square. Then multiply by the proportion of the cases and the proportion of the cases who have not using it, the Q1, and then we will plus one proportion of the control and the proportion which is not used in the control, this is the Q0. Then we will go to divide it by the proportion of the cases minus proportion of the control, and then we will the whole square. So this is the formula to calculate the sample size for the case control study design, and in which if the cases and the control has been given or has been taken from the previous study or previous research study. Now we will go to draw the data from the given scenario. So what is the P naught? P naught is the proportion of the control, okay, proportion of the control used who use the oral contraceptive. So how much it was? It was 10%. 10%. If you will do in the decimal, it's 0.1. Okay. Now, what is the P1? P1 is the proportion of the cases who use the oral contraceptive. It is 18%. It was the 18% which is in the scenario. 18% of the women who use the oral contraceptive but they develop the thromboembolism. If you will convert into the decimal, it will be 0.18. Okay. Now, what is the Q naught? Q naught is the proportion among the control who are not using the contraceptive. The proportion of in the control of the women who are not using the contraceptive. So what we will do? 1 minus P naught. So if you will minus the proportion of the contraceptive of the control of the contraceptive of the control who are using the Okay, now what we will do, we will minus the proportion of the women in the control group who are using the contraceptive. It was the 10%. So 1 minus 0.1 is equal to 0.9. Okay, this is a Q naught. 0.9 is the Q naught. Now we will go to calculate the P1, Q1. Now the Q1 is the proportion of the cases women who are not using the contraceptive. Okay, so 1 minus P1. P1 is the proportion of the cases women who are using the contraceptive. It was the 11%. And when we'll convert the 11% in the decimal, it come up with the 0.18. So 1 minus 0.18, it will be 0.82. So the 0.82 is the proportion of the cases women who are not using the contraceptive. Okay, now what is the alpha? Z alpha by 2 is 0.05, and we will go to see in the Z table 0.05. It is the value is 0.16, and beta, Z alpha by beta is the 20%. If you will minus the 0.2, it will come with the 80%, 0.8. 0.8 means 80%. The power of the test is the 80%. If we will go to see the value of the 80% of the power of the test is a 0.84. Now we have draw the all the values which is in the formula. Now we will put the values of the each components of the formula in the formula set. Okay, so n is equal to, what is the value of the Z alpha by 2? We draw with the Z table. It's a 1.96, and plus Z beta. Beta is, which is was the 80%. The value of the 80% is a 0.84. Then we will square it. Now multiply by, what is the proportion of the P1? Means the proportion of the cases who use the contraceptive is the 0.18, means 80%. Now multiply it by the Q1. Q1 is the proportion of the cases women who are not using the contraceptive is a 0.82. Okay, then we will sum up. Okay, now we will go to see the, what is the proportion of the control who use the contraceptive is the P naught is the 10%. 10% means 0.1. And what is the Q naught? The Q naught is the proportion of the control women who are not using the contraceptive is 0.9. Okay, then we will go to divide it by the, now what is the proportion of the P1 in the cases is a 0.18. We will minus the proportion of the control who use the contraceptive is a 0.1. Then we will do the whole square, 0.1. We will minus the proportion of the control who using the contraceptive from the proportion of the cases who are using the contraceptive. Then we will do the whole square. Now we will go to, first of all, we will add up the Z alpha by 2 value 1.96 plus 0.84. Okay, it come up with the 2.8. Then we square the 2.8 and 2.8 is come up with the answer of 7.84. Okay, now we will we will multiply the 0.18 with the proportion 0.82 is 0.1476. Then we will plus it, okay, with the proportion of the cases control and the p naught and q naught. 0.1 multiplied by 0.9 is 0.09. Now we will divide it from the minus the 0.18 minus the 0.1, okay, is a 0.08, and we will do the square it. Okay, now what we will do, we will sum up the proportion of the cases and the proportion of the control. 0.1476.09. Let's come up with the 0.784, okay, plus 0.2376, okay. Then we will divide it 0.84, 0.08. We will square it 0.08. It's come up 0.0064. Okay. Now what we will do, we will sum up the 7.84 sum up with the 0.2376. Okay, it's come up with the 8.0776 divided by 0.0064. So now we will go to divide 8.0776 divided by 0.0064. Okay, so no, sorry, we will here not the sum up 7.84 with the 0.2384, we will multiply it. Okay, sorry, it is on the formula 7.84 multiplied by 0.2376. Let's come up with the 1.863 divided by 0.0064. Now we will 1.863 divided by 0.0064, 2.291.06. So the sample size we have need 291 sample size we have required the cases for the control. So the researcher have need the 291 cases and 291 control, because the researcher he assumed that the equal size of the cases and the control with the 1:1 ratio. So it is calculated the number of the cases, 291 cases. So definitely we have the need 291 the control, because the ratio between the cases and control is the 1:1. So we have the need 291 cases and 291 control to conduct for this research study design. If the researcher says if the cases and control is 1:2 ratio, so what will be the sample size for the same research study design? So what we will do, for the control we will multiply by the 2. So 2 into 9 is 18, and 2 into 2 is a 4, 4 and 1 is 5. So if the ratio, if the researcher wants to conduct the same study with the ratio of the cases and control with 1 and 2, so in the control, the number of the control we will multiply by the 2. So we will need of the 582 control for the 291 cases. Okay, I hope in the today lecture it's clear your concept how to calculate the sample size for the case control study design if the proportion of the cases and the control has been given from the, if or it is the proportion of the cases and the control and the odd ratio, it has been taken from the previous study. Okay, I hope it's clear your concept. In the last, I request you all to watch my video lecture. It's very informative. It will enhance your knowledge in the epidemiology. To subscribe my YouTube channel. And the last, I request you all press the bell icon. By pressing the bell icon, you will get my new lecture as soon as I upload on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much. Take care of yourself.